Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the College of Swing Era Knowledge, Balboa Bal-Swing edition tonight. Okay. We'll get a few people online here. All right. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is safe and sound out there. Welcome to Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge, Bal-Swing edition. This evening, continuing in my head, my thoughts of steps that I still wish existed. I'm not sure if you can really count this one in there, because this is a unique one tonight. This is something that I learned. I think I put in the notes 2001. I'm pretty sure that was the year we brought Maxie to Santa Barbara, or we were in Vegas. I can't remember now. I think I'm mixing up my sessions with Maxie. But I want to say that it was in Santa Barbara. Valerie and I flew Maxie Dorf out to Jonathan and Sylvia's compound to do some intensive Balboa work with the master. And I think that was 2001. It might have been 2000. Well, anyway, we did a bunch of work with Maxie, and there was a time where we were working on what used to be known as crossovers. And the idea of this actually popped in my head last month when I worked on the transition step, which is definitely a step I wish still existed. So if you haven't checked out that video, you should check that out on the Retro Rhythm YouTube channel. That's something that I think definitely needs to get back into the repertoire of Balboa. But then as I was dancing that movement and finishing it off, I remembered this concept that Maxie shared with me, and I'm trying to remember how it came up. I think I was having a hard time with the feel of crossovers. With Sylvia, she just kept saying you need to relax, and then I'll never forget this though, because it's funny because she's like relax, and she went to squeeze my shoulders, and she's like and Valerie's like, he's always like that. So like Valerie and total Valerie like he is relaxed, he's always that way. Like that's a terrible Valerie voice, but you know what I'm saying. It's like so it was just kind of, I'll never forget that moment. Sylvia's like relax, and Valerie's like he is relaxed. But I was having a hard time with the footwork, and I think Maxie was staying in the side room while he was there. If you've ever been to the compound, there's the dance studio and then the room right next to it. And I was sitting chatting with Maxie, and we were discussing the footwork of a crossover. And he was I've talked about this before with the old timers. They weren't teachers. They just danced, and so they could just tell you yes or no. They're like, no, you're doing it wrong, but they couldn't describe how you were doing it wrong. And I remember him sitting on the couch, and I was doing the footwork on the rug, and then he goes, that's it. And I said, and I was looking down at my feet, and I don't know why I had some papers, and I put the papers down, and I was like, so it's this, and I just got to stick with this. And he's like, yeah, which was rare. He's like, yeah, that's it. So it felt good. But what it was, for me, in my mechanical engineering brain, and in the way I think about how I would teach this in the future, it was this triangle. I'm gonna show you exactly what we did. And so it was, what did I call it in the notes? Maxie's Magic Triangle. And the reason this came up is because in my head, as I was doing the transition step last week, and then finishing it off with the crossover step. As I said, we don't usually just do the transition step. We start to go into the crossover step. And back in the day, we used to call them crossovers because the leader would take those steps and one foot would be crossed over the other. And then the follower on the mirror side of that would be opened, if you will. So I think it was a little bit misleading at times to call it crossovers because the followers didn't cross over. So that was misleading. And then over the years, I can't remember when the transition was. It was probably 2000, mid 2000s, late 2010-ish. I don't know. I can't remember, but all of a sudden, crossovers became out and ins. And we lost the transition step. I saw a number of teachers at that time because I was still going to classes, especially beginner classes, because I wanted to see what was being taught. And I think we talked about this with the transition step last month, where the leaders just started to step away on 5, 6, 7 and just go out and in, and you just go like back and forth straight without any kind of movement side to side or anything like that. It's all good. I'm not saying one is right or wrong. I'm just giving you some historical context into what I'm going to cover tonight. And so I just saw, in my opinion, this beautiful movement, this beautiful flowing step of the transition step leading into this step that we originally learned as crossovers with a certain pattern be completely lost. And I think in losing the shape of the step and in losing especially the transition, we lost the smoothness of that coming into play. And I just think we lost a beautiful dance step. I did ask a few teachers back in the day, and the unfortunate reality is one of them had said that, oh, well, it's too hard to teach the crossovers with that transition step, and the crossovers are a hard step to teach. And I was like, oh, okay. But in my head, I was like, ooh, man, I can't believe you just said that. Because if you're going to choose to be a teacher, I've said this before in teacher trainings, it's your job as a teacher to get the skills needed across to your students. It's not I'm going to say that again. If you want to be a good teacher in anything, I don't care if it's math, science, swing dancing, ballroom, Latin, you need to take it upon yourself as a good instructor to figure out the best way to describe it, the best way to show it, the best way to do it, the best way to repeat it, so that the student understands it and gets the best quality of movement and the best step possible. You shouldn't be watering things down to make it easier for students, and hence you lose the step or you lose the technique. Woo! Yeah, I just said that. So that was the only frustrating thing for me. I felt like we're losing these steps, and some of the newer teachers were like, well, that's too hard to teach. I'll just throw it out there. It's not too hard to teach. You need to work on your teaching. Boom! Okay, so let's get to this. If you have not seen the transition step session, go back and look at that, and I'll put a link to that maybe when we're done here. But I'm just going to quickly go through there because that's the start of it, and then that's where, in my head, this idea of MAXIE'S triangle came into play. So let's get up, and we're going to do this really, really quickly. So when I'm here, okay, I'm going to focus on the feet a little bit more. Let me do this from the front, and then I'll do it in the back with you. So we're gonna start really quick with that transition step from last week. So we're gonna have a step, twist, in, and we're gonna come in on that left foot. Watch that again. So I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4 coming in on that left foot. So watch from the side. I'm gonna have 1, 2, twist, 4. My weight's gonna come forward on count 4. That's when the release will be with the right hand. Again, we covered a lot of this detail last month, but this is going to be our starting point. So I want to make sure we have that. Watch from this angle, and then we'll do it together from the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, right there. Weight's in the left foot. My body weight comes forward. I would have released my partner right now for that initial step on count 4. Getting in my left foot, follower's right foot. Okay, so from the back, let's do this together. Let's do one basic, and then we're going to do a transition to 4. 5, 6, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, twist, step. Okay, so you can feel that twist, you can feel that step, and then again, your right forearm releases to the hand at this position where at count 4, weight is in the left foot. Let's do that one more time, and then we'll build. 5, 6, here we go. Basic. 3, 5, 6, 7, and 1, 2, twist, step. Okay, so hopefully you did that with me. And again, if that was like, what was that? Watch the whole session on the transition step from last month. So now we're at point 4. Now this is where, when I finished things off last month and just went into crossovers, bing, 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 bing. I was like, that's the next class for College of Swing Air Knowledge, Bal-Swing, MAXIE'S Triangle. I have done this in private lessons. I have done this a number of times in workshops. I don't know if it's stuck or not with people, but I love it, and I'm going to pass it on now. This is absolute Bal-Swing gold. Okay, MAXIE'S Triangle. So I'm going to do this purposely so you can see these on the floor, but you can just take painter's tape, any kind of tape or whatever. All right, so here's what I actually did with Maxie. I'm going to do it with you right now, and then get into great detail on it. So here you are. You've got your footwork. Let me get right here. So you take a piece of tape, whatever, and you put it down right there underneath your feet. Okay, take a natural step back, put your feet shoulder width apart, and then put those spots right underneath the balls of your feet there. Okay, I'm going to just straighten that up just a little bit. Okay, what do you see there, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. There is the triangle. Now, what does this mean, though? Okay, so this is what I describe to people ever since this session with Maxie, is this is your natural triangle. Okay, so this is going to be different for everybody based on their, again, their natural step distance and their shoulder width apart stance, right? Everybody has a different feel for it. But now remember where we came from. We came from that 3, 4. So the weight is in the left foot on count 4. So again, my left pant leg is rolled up so you can have an easy visual. Okay, so I want to do this from the front for you so you can see this. So remember, here's my 2 spots in the back and my 1 spot in front. Now remember where this is all coming from. This is back in the day when I was having a hard time with the crossover footwork. So I put these spots down on the floor. It was actually on the carpet. And then I started to do the footwork. And I stepped back, together, forward. Now look at my right is crossed, crossed over the left. And then I step back, together, forward, back, together, forward. Now that's a mantra we used to say on crossovers. We used to say back, together, forward, back, together, forward. Now look at this. If I hit my natural steps, I hit the corner, then the top, the corner, and the top. And it's not a huge step, but it's very consistent. So I'm really being what I call precise with my feet, which is something all Balboa dancers should pride themselves on, being precise. So you can see that I'm hitting the spots of the triangle. And for me, when this revelation came on with Maxie, it was really quick. I obviously took it and ran with it later. Like Maxie was just like, yeah, that's it. I didn't really want to talk about it after that. But this created a big light bulb moment for me personally. So the first thing is again, I'm going to say it, the precision with the feet. I always really kind of preach that for the basic bal, having a nice precise basic. It's not sloppy, it's not all over the place. Then you do that beautiful transition step, giving the follower a good lead, a good good heads up that something new is coming with that boom, that nice little smooth twist and release. And now we're into crossovers, or what we now call out and ins. So when I hit that 4, now my head, for me, mechanical engineering guy, trying to figure out this swing dance stuff, trying to be all like getting the numbers and the mantras down as a teacher, this really helped me out, getting this triangle. And so as I worked it out, and then just put some tape down and practice it, this is Maxie's magic triangle, right? And so as soon as you get to that spot, then you're ready for that back together forward, but you're hitting these spots every time. And now when you, as a leader, have this really nice precision and this nice quality of movement, then your follower feels a shape and feels a really good movement for the out and ins. Versus, like I said earlier, what I see a lot of teachers doing now is they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the leader goes 5, 6, 7, and just steps back and forward. And then there's just out and in, where it's just straight. So you're just like out and in, right? And so I'm not sure if they watered it down on purpose to make it easier or whatever, but there's no shape to it. So this still has an out and in, but it has a shape to it as well. So when we talk about the back together forward, that's really important on both ends of the spectrum. So for me as a leader, when I step back, this is the out, and then together is the and then the forward is the in. So we could say out and in, or back together forward, or corner together top, triangle. Now again, I as a leader am trying to be really precise with this. Okay, so that's just the shape, obviously, of the triangle. A couple other quality of movement tips with this idea if you want to share it with people. And again, because of the crossover thing, when you actually have a partner with you and you lead them across your body slightly, look at my left foot, my right foot as it comes in. When you start it, you're here with that transition step. So the left foot is angled slightly to that corner. Right? Now when I take my first back together forward, my right foot, I'm going to point straight at my partner. And I'm bringing my partner slightly to my right. And I'll show you those details in a second. And now I lead back together. There's no lead. And then I lead forward. Look at my left foot. Point straight. So my partner comes across to the left side of my body. And I'm being very diligent of turning and pivoting and then stepping forward with this foot kind of halfway in between, and that makes it really smooth to transition to the side to side. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, you can't see it from here. Let me turn my triangle. Okay, I'm going to turn my triangle over to here. You're going to see the next spot. So now, when I have my back together, forward, there's a slight gather here. Gather, back together, forward, back together, forward. It's really subtle. It's just like, it's like in the basic when you go 1, 2, 3, you have that really nice gather, that tilt, that lilt, that it's just the and the right there in the crossovers. Boom, gather, back together, forward, out and in, gather, out and in, versus out and in. So see how I leave my foot back? That makes it feel very static and choppy. But if I have that quality of movement, so I'm still keeping the precision of the triangle, pointing my foot forward, gathering with that back foot coming forward slightly, and all of that movement, I never stop, or it's never just static or still. It has this flow throughout the entire movement. Now, while I'm here on the side view, another common thing that beginner leaders will do wrong is when I bring this up to them, and then later if they do more lessons with me, I'll be like, where'd your triangle go? Because what leaders often do is they'll step like this. So they won't really lead the follower. Oh, look at this crazy triangle. There's no base to it, because then what the leader does is he steps to the side. And so now all I'm doing is this. I'm going side, side, and I might be moving my follower back and forth, but I don't have any out and in with that. You don't have any out when you just step side. So that goes back to front spot, natural step back, feet shoulder width apart. There's your out. So your out is, again, a natural movement for you. It's a natural move. Ha! Natural move. Yes, Maxie, I hear you. It's a natural move as you move your foot back into the corners of that triangle. Okay? So that's the trick to try to get leaders to feel that. So now let's do this together. Obviously it's not a difficult shape, but if you want to grab something really quick to put on the floor, I'm going to put my triangle down from behind so we can do this together. So I'm going to put the top of my triangle. I take a natural step back. I put my feet shoulder width apart. I put those two spots right underneath there. That was a great view, wasn't it? Sorry, everybody. Okay, now let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so now watch. I'm going to do a basic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. There's that transition step. Now my left foot is on the top of the triangle. Now it's back together, forward, gather, back together, forward, hitting those spots. Boom. Okay, so let's do this together. Let's do one basic. And that basic usually happens right around the middle of this spot. I mean, once you start dancing, you'll be able to predict it, but if you already have your X's down, you'll get there. One basic, transition. Right after that step on 4, visualize, or if you actually put something on the floor, hit those corners of the triangle. 5, 6, basic here. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Transition on the 3, 4. Now back together, forward, gather, triangle. Hit those spots. Notice it's not a huge step, but it has a really nice shape and a flow. Back together, forward, and let's stop there. Okay, so we just threw a lot of stuff at you in that little chunk of time. So when we would work with Jonathan and Sylvia with this concept of the crossovers, now we're going to talk about the follower just a little bit. So leaders. So remember, we've got our magic triangle, whatever that natural triangle is for you. So that's the precision with the feet. Okay? We have that back together. Together is really important. When we step forward, the foot goes straight, and we're pivoting through that step to the back corner of the triangle. So we have that triangle. So then when Jonathan and Sylvia especially when she used to describe the crossover and what shape it should be, she would always say it's like a chevron. And at first I was like, chevron, what are you talking about? She's like, like the gas station, the chevron. And so I brought some visuals for us tonight. The chevron, okay? So there's the chevron, okay? But what's interesting though, it's upside down. So the chevron is upside down because then you can see the bottom of the chevron is the leader and the top is the follower. Boop. So now, see, I came prepared tonight with visuals. So now you can see the black triangle is the leader footwork and the yellow triangle is the follower footwork. And now you just kind of put it all together. Maxie's Magic Triangle for Bal-Swing crossovers. Sylvia used to call it the chevron. You flip it over and you've got your triangle. Yeah? And so when you put the quality of movement of the leader in with the follower, what ends up happening is the follower is on the other side of the magic triangle. And so now they're feeling that back together forward. And I can't stress enough, especially for the follower, that together step is really important. So when you talk about an out and an in, you have the out, the and is the together. If you don't step together, so watch this. If I go out and together, in. Out and in. But if somebody goes, sorry, if somebody goes back, boom, and steps forward without stepping together, they get closer. So I would always get on the followers to step together in that moment when you have an out together in, out together, and that together really created a nice stretch of feeling with the followers back in my hand. So let me show this again. So here's the chevron, right? So if I'm following, I'm going to actually move this all closer so you can see this better. So remember, this is the leader triangle. Did I get it on there? There we go. Okay, so if this is the leader's triangle, remember that chevron. Okay, so then if I'm leading, I'm going back together forward and I'm crossing my feet over. If I'm following, then I'm going to be here and I'm going to feel back together, forward, gather, back together, forward, and right here, back together. If you step together, this is where the beautiful stretch is going to be, right before the forward coming this way. And again, followers aren't crossed. Followers are open. You have a nice gather, a little bit of compression in the hands, and then you have out and in. So you can see the chevron working. I should have printed 3 more cards. But that's that chevron picture. I'm doing the follower footwork right now. So as the leader steps forward there, the follower is stepping forward here. All right, and there's the out and in. Out and in. Now, depending on where the leader leads the follower and whatnot, I mean, this is just getting, again, back to the precision of this step, right? The precision of the crossover versus being really sloppy with it or just sending your partner side to side. Let me pull that picture back up. So yeah, so what you were just looking at is this, taking those chevrons and giving it a, why am I having a hard time getting it straight? There we go. Yeah, so the black dots and the black triangle is the leader, and then the followers feeling that position there. So ever since I had that session with Maxie and that light bulb went on with that triangle, then I remember going back to Cleveland and just practicing that step, putting some tape down on the floor and just practicing that footwork. And then ever since then, I think I just had a better understanding of the footwork of a crossover, the timing, the feel of it. And then as I'm leading my partner, it just had a really nice flow to it. So remember, if you combine last month's transition step, really work on that beautiful flow. As soon as you get to count 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's the release. Now, Maxie's Magic Triangle comes into place. 5, 6, 7, gather 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then when you're ready to finish it, boom, the other step that I brought up, I think last month, a 360-degree come around, break turn, just putting that in and rotating those hips. Now you've got this beautiful feeling step when you do a basic, a transition, 3 crossovers, and then come out of it with a come around or a break turn. And it's got this nice shape, it's got this nice flow, and you're good to go. And what you'll notice for you teachers out there, you'll notice that beginner leaders will be really sloppy with their footwork, and their triangles basically non-existent. And so they're just kind of stepping. So if you just kind of step away and step into your partner with no actual shape, no precision, your follower is not going to know where to go. So the precision of the triangle is important. Then we talked about that back together forward. If they're just kind of sloppy all over and not getting that nice together, you're not going to get that nice stretch away for the out, and then it creates the in. All right, and now this is just vanilla, basic crossover pattern. Maxie's Magic Triangle combined with the beautiful transition step. You put those two things together, and now you are really, really good to go. Work on that triangle for yourself as a leader or even as a follower. Remember, put one down, natural step back, shoulder width on the feet, hit those spots on the floor, practice dancing with your invisible partner, make it magical. And I guarantee you, once we get back to dancing, if you're leading with the transition step in this concept, your follower is really going to feel the shape and really feel the difference in the move we now call out and ins. But I'm bringing it back old school with the leader crossing over using that triangle, followers having that open step, and you're good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel's College of Swing Air Knowledge, Balboa, I should say Bal-Swing Gold this evening for you teachers out there. If this brought you a little bit of joy, if it got you up off the couch, if it brought you some new knowledge for your noggin, please consider donating. The links are in the description for tonight's College of Swing Air Knowledge Bal-Swing Edition, Maxie's Magic Triangle. Thank you. Night, night. Crazy about you all.